Hi everybody, today we are going to look at pose to pose and straight ahead animation. Now, straight ahead animation is very natural and it's what everyone does when they first start off, and pose to pose has to be learned. So that's the basic differences right there, is that straight ahead is the first way everyone starts animating. So actually we're going to start with pose to pose since this is a little bit different. So with pose to pose, you do your keyframes or your storytelling poses first. And I'm drawing a chicken right here. And I'm going to draw 3 different drawings of this chicken. So one, I'm drawing him. He's just going to, or she is just going to stand. She's a hen. She's just going to stand right there like that, okay? Now, in pose to pose, you move from one pose to another pose, but there will be plenty of in-betweens in between those poses, okay? So it sounds a little complicated. So this is the second drawing of the hen, and she is going to move to the right of the screen so you can see her little comb on top is stretching because she's moving so fast, and she has now moved a little bit to the center. So that is one pose there. The third pose is she is standing in the middle. She's turned her body to face the camera or face the viewer. And that is the third pose there. There's 3 poses. And if I were to film that out, it would seem, the action would seem so fast. See, it's fine when I slow it down. But if I play it really at top speed, it is just way too fast, and it would be too fast to see it because it's 24 frames a second and that's only 3 frames, okay? So there are the key poses right there. Now, key poses can also be called extreme keys, and between those extreme keys, there are in-betweens. That means I would have to go back and draw in between. At our studio, we have green to signify the drawing before, and then red to show the drawing after the one we're working on, and that's the color scheme that we do at our studio. And so this is the in-between of those 2 extreme keys, okay? So those are usually called the breakdown or in between. Okay, we're just going to keep it really simple. They have breakdown keys and things like that, but we're just going to keep it really simple for right now. So now I'm doing another in between. I've basically started with 3 poses, and I'm doing in betweens each one of those poses. So by the time I'm done, you'll have 5 different drawings. Okay, so those 5 different drawings now are going to start filling up the timing of this particular scene right here, where the chicken is moving from one end of the screen to the other. Okay, so now you can see it's a little bit smoother. It's the animation is a little bit smoother because the more in-betweens you put in, the smoother the action is. Okay, next what we're going to do is we're going to do something a little bit different here. And this isn't straight ahead, this is going to pose, but we're going to start with, no, not a chicken. I don't want to draw another chicken. We're going to draw with a different animal. Let's draw a turtle. And as I'm drawing this turtle, again, and you see how rough it is? I'm being really rough this turtle. And I'm going to do the first pose there, but I'm going to do kind of like a straight ahead. And my last one was about 4 or 5 drawings, so I'm going to keep this one at 4 or 5 drawings. So now immediately after I do that one, I'm going to move my turtle, but you notice just his head is moving because I'm just animating straight ahead on this one. I'm just going ahead and just moving him from one pose to the next pose, and the drawings are going to be a little close. Now here he's picking up speed, but still his feet are in that same in the area that they were before because he's moving incrementally. And this is straight ahead, okay? So with this one, now, like I said, there's only 4 frames I'm doing in here, but there's no real in-betweens to do in this. I'm just going ahead and starting on my first drawing and ending on my last drawing, and I have no idea at this point what my last drawing is going to look like. I know I have to end at 4 drawings, so I want to end it at 4 drawings, but I have no idea what that last frame is going to look like because I haven't drawn it yet. I can have maybe some kind of planning in it, but there we go. I'll just go ahead and I'll make him face forward in the camera too. But how is he going to face? I have him at a 3/4 view, and I'm just kind of putting it in there. So straight ahead is more natural, feels more natural, and it is, but there's a lot of different problems that come up with both straight ahead and pose to pose. And we're going to look at them because you can actually choose which ones you want to do, and you choose a mixture of both of them. So let's go ahead and let's just make it simple because I don't want to make it difficult to understand. So let's do pose to pose again. Here is a character from our studio, and he is just going to be standing there, and then I already have it in my mind planned out where he's going to go and what he's going to do, and so I will draw it. There is the next pose, and he is bending down, getting ready to jump. Now, it's not the next drawing in the sequence, it's the next pose. In other words, what I'm saying, before he gets to this pose right here that I'm drawing, there's probably going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe about 4 to 5 drawings between this drawing and the green under drawing that you see. So I'm not doing it straight ahead. This is pose to pose, and I'm moving from one pose to the other. Okay, so I'm going to say that's 4, or that let's make it 8. And so that means between those drawings that there's going to be a whole bunch of drawings in between, but I'm not doing that. I'm just going from pose to pose. And so this is him in the air. So for him to go from standing to in the air is 3 drawings. There it is, 3 drawings right there. And then he's actually going to go out. So his tail is the last thing that you'll see. So there he goes. And these are just the poses. These are just to see if the pose is working right. If the character. Now, what the great thing about pose to pose is that you can really check and make sure your volumes are correct and everything like that. But when you work straight ahead, like this one right here, this one is now straight ahead. I'm going to do the same thing. He's going to be standing. When you work straight ahead, you start losing consistency in your drawing size, and it starts to move all over. Now, not always. The better animator you are, the better draftsman, the better you will keep your size consistent. But it's hard not to when you're working frame to frame and you're working drawing to drawing. So this is the next pose. On this one, he's hearing something, so I'm going to have him react to that. Before, I didn't have that in there. I just had him going from standing to jumping. So now I'm already on the 3rd drawing, and he's just reacting to something that's going to make him jump. You see that? So now I'm working straight ahead, and I'm working one drawing after another. And you're going to see that in the amount of drawings that it's going to take and the amount that I'll be able to finish will be much less than the amount going pose to pose. Because I can do a whole scene very quickly going pose to pose. But if I'm going straight ahead, I have no idea what it's going to look like, and I can only do you can only see a little bit of the time as I'm getting the character to animate. So his action is the same. He's going to jump up in the air. But you see, at this point, I've already gone to 4 drawings, and in pose to pose, I already knew where he was going to be in the air at that point. And then this one, he's still not even bending over. He's going to bend over, and he's going to go into the anticipation of jumping, but he hasn't done it yet. So what does that jump look like? I have no idea, because I'm just working straight ahead. I'll know what it looks like when I get there. Now I have a rough idea. It's going to be in the corner, but I have no idea. So if I'm animating with a background, or I'm animating with a second character, and that character is there, there's less precision, and so maybe it'll work and maybe it won't. So here's another example of a straight ahead character, and as you can see, the character is changing shape, which works fine for this particular straight ahead because it's supposed to, but it's a complicated character, And he's got a lot of little details, a lot of wrinkles, a lot of just like kind of age marks, and a lot of texture on his skin. And his fins have a lot of fin veins in there, and his fins have a lot of different points and shapes. So if I'm working straight ahead, I'll get this really fun, very fluid, it has a lot of energy in it as I'm working straight ahead. But you're gonna see the volumes and the character is gonna morph around quite a bit, especially with this one. This character is just right off the top of my head, and what I'm doing here is I'm just trying to keep consistent, but it changed a whole lot from the very first drawing that I drew. It looks like a completely different character from the first drawing that I drew. So he's turning around towards the camera, and what would have taken me maybe about 5 or 6 key poses, I think I'm already on my 40th or 50th drawing, and he hasn't even turned around. So if I would have key posed it, if I would have done just the storytelling poses, I would know where the scene is going, what the direction is, and where he's going to occupy his space on the screen. Does that make sense? But because I'm doing straight ahead, I don't know where he's going to end. I mean, I know where I want to direct him. It's going to be in the corner, but how he gets there, and if I had a director looking at my work and saying, well, there's going to be bubbles in front of him here and there, you know, it's not very precise. It's very fun, and it has a lot of energy in it. And then if you do things pose to pose, you can get a very sterile kind of mechanical feeling to it. So you wanna incorporate some of straight ahead animation and pose to pose animation. So one is not necessarily better than the other. You would use it just like you would use a different brush for whatever you're doing. A small detail brush if you're doing tiny little highlights and hair, and a great big broad brush to cover a big part of the canvas. So straight ahead animation is great for packing energy and giving so much life to your character. The bad things about it is that your volumes and your character designs can start moving and morphing all over the place and start looking very, very different. So a model sheet helps that. That means having drawings in front of you showing what the character looks like from different perspectives and showing his different expressions, which is everyone uses for animation. But just going straight ahead with one drawing that you've never ever drawn before, you just create it like this fish. I just made up this fish just for this particular example here. And you can see it's got a lot of energy. It's really, really fun. And I'm really enjoying drawing all the little details and everything like that. It looks like an evil flounder. It's a lot of fun. And like I said, it's the way people start off animating at first. It's the very first way they do it. If you can do the bouncing ball, you start at the top, you go to the bottom, and then you continue to go until the ball stops bouncing and it just stays still. Pose to pose is a little less natural, a little less intuitive than it is going straight ahead. Straight ahead makes sense. It's the way you start a drawing, right? You go straight ahead. But this is like going pose to pose is the same kind of thinking of doing a gesture and construction first. You're setting it up. Pose to pose is setting it up and getting it ready so it has a logical construction to it. And that's straight ahead. So let's take a look at the very first drawing that I did of the fish. Now you didn't get to see it too much before, but I'm going to show it to you now. And this is the end drawing of the fish, right? But what did the very first drawing look like at the fish? I don't even remember. It was 50 or 40 drawings ago, and I don't even remember what it looked like. There it is right there. There we're coming to the actual, what the character actually looks like. There he is right there. Look at that. Totally different. Did you see that? There's the original fish that I started with drawing. Again, no model sheet or anything like that. And he pretty much morphed and kind of changed into, once he opened his mouth and revealed all these teeth, he was like a werewolf. He turned into a different creature. Look at that, and totally looks completely different than the first fish. So that's one of the hazards of straight ahead, but straight ahead is so fun. You get some fun animation like you would get nowhere else. And pose to pose can help you in that you'll know exactly where the character is, exactly where he begins. So that is straight ahead animation. And you can see the benefits of it is that it's just really fun. You don't have to worry about anything. You just go ahead and you just go straight ahead from one drawing to another. And it's honestly, I love it. It's fun. If I was going to animate something and I didn't have to worry about a timeline or working with other people or anything, this is the way I would do it. It's just fun. It's just really, really fun. It's the way you do it when you do a flip book as a kid, and you just, you don't do pose to pose when you're doing a flip book, when you're flipping the pages. And so, yeah, it's a way we've all fallen in love with animation, is doing it like this. Who wants to organize and have all these charts and everything like that? But when working as a professional animator, that's what you got to do, is learn all this. So here is pose to pose, okay, of the same kind of fish. So one, I have the pose there. Number one, first pose. And it's just the very simple fish, kind of closer to the one I started off with than the one I ended when I did straight ahead animation. And I just do the key telling poses. Now we already know what the story is, right? The storytelling key poses are the fish opens his mouth, closes it, looks at the camera, and then swims off screen, right? So I'm going to go just to the key telling poses, which are he opens his mouth. That's an important one. So kind of plan your key poses as someone else is going to do your in-betweens, even if you do your own in-betweens, and that's a good way to tell you which are the key poses. What is it that they need to know from your drawings? And so they would need to know that when he opens up, he has tons of teeth as he opens his mouth, okay? The next thing you need to know is his mouth is going to close. It's going to slam shut close at one point. So that'll be my third drawing. These are all key poses. This is not straight ahead. It looks like it's straight ahead, but there's a ton of drawings in between, right? So now his mouth is closed, and then look at this. I'm able to just put the drawing on model because I'm doing it pose to pose. And so I can just really very easily follow. I don't have a lot of drawings interrupting me in between, and I'm able just to follow. I'm able to go back and correct some things like, oh, he's got those big, dark, bushy eyebrows, so I can go back and do that. And that's something you kind of lose on straight ahead. The eyebrows start changing shape and everything because you're not so close to your original first drawing. So now he looks at the camera there a little bit, and he's going to come up and he's going to swim to the camera. So there's the mouth, right, where he opens up the mouth. And the next pose is going to be he's going to swim to the camera. So notice I didn't show the drawing of him turning around. So if this was straight ahead, the next drawing that I would do would be the fish turning around to go into this position here of him facing the camera. See, his head is on the opposite side of where it was, and his tail's on the... So you assume that somewhere he's turned around. I didn't animate that because that's not a storytelling pose. It's just obvious if he moves from one side to the other, he's going to have to turn around. And so there he is turning around, looking at the camera, and then he's going to swim off screen. And if someone were to look at my scene, they could tell by the animation and by the key poses, they could tell exactly what's going to happen in my scene. But if I was doing this straight ahead, I would only be on the fourth drawing in. That means he wouldn't even open his mouth at that point. His mouth would maybe just start to open up like that. So there is it on the last drawing of the fish swimming away out of the frame. And that's pose to pose. It's logical, it makes sense, it's easier to read. You can see the whole scene right away and see exactly what happens. See? You see the whole scene of what happens. Whereas straight ahead, you don't know exactly what's going to... You can tell someone what you're going to plan on doing, but it's a little difficult to do or to show. Okay, everyone, and that is pose to pose and straight ahead animation. And it can be a little complicated, and I hope I covered it correctly for you to understand. It's no good doing nice, beautiful drawings if you don't understand it. So I've also put some links in your classroom, and you can take a look at those links, and there's different artists, different animators that explained it in different ways. I try to use the most simple ways so that you can get your assignments correct and get the concepts. Pose to pose and straight ahead animation.